Oh, hi. Sorry. Didn't realize I'm busy reading Twitter, not realizing not realizing that stuff is on. I haven't been able to log on to Twitter. Hi.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
Four,
Three,
three,
two,
two, one.
one.
Hi. Hey everybody. Good morning. Hey. Hello. Holla at your girl. Holla. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Harriet Kimmick, and this is Down to Earth. And guess what? This is the second day of the last month of this decade. So we're rolling into history right now because everything we do for the next 31 days will be historic. It's the last month of the 2010s. Anybody remember the beginning of the 2010s? We had Android phones. iPhones were a novelty. We still had iPods. iPads were, they were talking about it. And we had some stuff going on. So last night, my kids were on Twitter and they Googled on Twitter, it's great moments of the decade. It's a trending thing on Twitter. So if you want to see what the decade was about, go to Twitter and in the search bar, type in great moments of the decade. It will blow your mind. It was so hilarious. Some of the stuff that we have lived through. Did you guys see what we use for Bluetooth? Now we're using AirPods. AirPods, y'all. You should have seen what was going on. So we're everything we do for the next 30 days or so, it's going to be historic because we're in the last month of the decade. Come December 31st, come January 1st, 2020, we start a whole new decade. Unfortunately, means some of us are getting older. I mean, I was looking at my children and I remember back in 2010, one was in elementary school and one was in high school. Now one graduated, and the other one is looking at graduation and they're looking at me like, life goes on, da da da. And I'm looking at them like, should I be worried? Right? So, great moments of the decade is something that we all should look at. Today, we're approaching, it's December, and today is the 2nd of December. So that means in 9 days, it will be my birthday. So holla at your girl because December 11th this year will be on a Wednesday. Guess who will be on a podcast on her birthday? Moi. Guess who is going to wish me happy birthday? You all. Right? And I couldn't be bothered. You know how that is. Right? So today we're going to talk about it's that time of the year when you have to wear sweaters and foolishness. You know what I mean? And the thing with me is that I still wear athleisure wear. So that means I dress casually. So they tell me that I don't dress appropriately for winter. That's what they say. So you got a better paying job as a single parent. Okay. Right? So how I dress, I tend to wear like a tank top. I wear tank tops winter, fall, summer, or spring. So for me, I have to wear something over the tank top because I don't wear, some people wear turtlenecks up to here and long sleeve shirts. Guys, it has to be like 12 below or 20 below to see me in a long sleeve shirt. If I have on a long sleeve shirt, chances are, like one of those long sleeve tees, that means I'm wearing a coat after that. So I wear leggings, or lately they've been capri leggings because you just pull your boots on over your legs and it's like, dang, can summer come back? Where did summer go? Did summer go? I went on my front porch and I'm like, my plants, I had to move them inside because you know and I'm not happy. I'm not happy that my house plants are looking like, well, it's always warm in here. And I'm like, I'm one of those persons, I don't like keeping the heat on. When you see me turn cold. I don't like it, right? Because it makes you uncomfortable, and then you have to walk. And then, to me, it's still so. I don't even wear clothes a lot during thingy. But today on our show, I want to talk about income inequality. And I know that it's something you might hear most politicians, because we're approaching an election year. Politicians are not going to talk about this because this is going to highlight major differences in political platforms. So you're not going to hear politicians talk about this, but we're going to talk about income equality being on the rise. This, from my perspective, this is just me observing over the last 10 years. I guess I never really looked at it, but now I'm beginning to see distinct differences with the way our society is evolving. We seem to be evolving into a society that is more focused on class, whereby people who earn more are striving to ensure that they stay in protected environment, and the differences between what people earn is making a marked difference in our lifestyles. And so people who earn more are making sure they stay that way, right? And they're also determining where they live. So they don't want to feel as if they are close to where people who don't earn more are, because it's a reward for earning more. And second, so they want all the trappings that come with being a high earner. So they strive to make sure that you know that they're high income earners, right? Therefore, the distinctions and differences are creating somewhat of a class distinction. So, whereas before we were driven by money, now we're slowly getting to be like the European countries where it's based on class. Because obviously, you have money, you're going to stay in that protected class. The only thing is, whereas in European countries, it tends to be generationally appointed, here it is up to the individual. So it's up to if you're a doctor and you married a doctor, or you're a doctor, married a lawyer, you're wealthy, it's up to your children to then continue that. Most children today are going to say, well, mom and daddy have it, I don't have to make an effort. So they go get a 4-year college degree, come back home and sit down and look at their parents because mom and dad have it, right? And they're going to inherit what mom and dad have, so they don't have to make an effort. So they're going to fall within the low income earners, or just stay low, because they didn't make an effort. So at the end of this, I'm going to show you that there are some things we can do. There are some things that we need to instruct our children and our young people to do to make sure that they stay high income earners. Everybody wants to be a star. Everybody thinks that they are a snowflake, so they're unique, and so on. You better go get that advanced degree. You better go be a lawyer, engineer, or doctor, because that's where it's going, right? We had seen this trend starting from the late 1980s onwards, but see, we were a different society in the 1980s. You and I, some of us weren't even born yet, right? We were kids. Some of us weren't even born. So we were not the policymakers. Back then, how people thought was that we wanted to be equitable. There were government and public policies that ensured that people stay the same. There were things like antitrust legislation that ensured that you just didn't do something you don't. Now, when they removed antitrust legislation, what happens is you pay anybody how much you want. You hire people. So if you are Elon Musk and you need an engineer, and you hear GM has a good crop of engineers, right? And GM is over there paying them 1.5 million. Elon Musk wants to hire that engineer. So they go and find out, well, how much would it cost to get them over here? Whatever it costs. Whereas before, under antitrust legislation, there would be laws that govern that. What those were designed to do was to keep us, the mind frame of the policy framers at the time was not to create a society where people didn't feel equal. Now people don't give a care. Nobody cares about the next person. It's all about me, 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 me. What I want, what I want, what I want, how I feel, how I feel, how I feel. Do you see my point? And so now we've created this society where, frankly, nobody cares. So I made some notes that I thought you'd find interesting, some points that I want to point out, because I want to bring this to our attention, because sometimes we're asleep at the switch. And these things tend to happen seemingly overnight, but it's really not overnight. We're distracted by the entertainment news of the day. I've been talking about this for 10 years. We allow ourselves to be distracted by entertainment that we miss what is really going on. When you don't pay attention to what is going on around you or what is going on locally in your community, that's when you lose. How about the fact that women go into professions that don't pay as much? Right. Well, this is exactly my point. Why are you going to go to school and get a social work degree? Why are you going to take a student loan to go become a social worker? And then when you graduate with your social worker's degree, you're going to earn $40,000 a year. $40,000 a year can't help you get a mortgage, can't help you to pay your car note, can't save enough for retirement. What's the foolishness in that? We're going to talk about that. You see what I'm saying? So we need to re examine and instruct our children and our friends, right? If you're going to go back to school to get an advanced degree in something like public policy. That's where the trend is today. Get an advanced degree, not just an MBA, but a specialized kind of MBA. Not just, well, I have a master's in business administration. And what's your specialty? What's unique about you? Because public policy is what? Is created by politicians who are, we call them legislators. We like to believe that we elected them. We like to believe that they're elected by the people they represent, but that's not true in reality, is it? No. It's who writes the biggest check on the campaign run, isn't it? And whoever writes the biggest check is whose policies are going to be implemented when they get into office. Isn't that the truth? Anywhere, whether at the local level or the regional level or the national level. It's the same thing everywhere. Whether you're voting for your state representative or the US congressman, it's the same thing. So they're going to respond to people who write checks. The bigger the check, that's whom they're going to respond to, right? But where are we? Asleep at the switch. We're not paying attention to public policy. We don't go to city council meetings. We don't insist that they send out mailings so we can read them, right? They might put it on their Facebook page, but do you have time to remember to go to their Facebook page? Right? So public policy is what has created, there's no gender wage gap on YouTube. No. Hold on. What did you say that is? There's no gender wage gap on YouTube? That sounds like something I should watch. There is no gender wage gap on YouTube. Wow. Interesting. I know where that is going. Right? So, but you're right up in my thoughts this morning. You and I are thinking alike. So where is all this going to go? Where's all this going to go eventually? Do you see what I've been saying it for some time, that we are creating a society where inequality, defined by income inequality, is going to be a problem later on. Think about it. People who are engineers, for instance, especially automotive engineers and other designers. Some engineers are called designers. It's a what? It's a PragerU video. Okay, I'll find it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Right? So people who are engineers, software developers, and so on, that's where the economy is trending, right? So technology, services, powered by technology, anything that is powered by technology. Look, I can't say it enough. If you have a brother or sister who is about to go to college, I cannot tell you enough how to tell them to be patient. Kids today don't want to stay in school. They don't have the discipline. They're constantly distracted by what is going on electronically in their hands, and they don't want to stay in school long enough to study something. 5 years to become a specialized kind of engineer. They don't want to do that. They don't want to be a doctor. They definitely don't want to be a lawyer because it's 7 years of study. So they graduate with a degree in the humanities. What's that going to do? No, how many people do you know are going to school to get a degree in computer science, or computer development, or computer technology, or computer engineering? How many people do you know who are going to college to get a degree in engineering? There is such a lack of engineers today. It's unbelievable. I went to the U.S. Department of Energy uh, forum the other day, and they don't have engineers. You can't get kids to go to school to become an engineer. They'll find the easiest, stupid degree. People graduating from college. You went to college for 4 years and graduate with a degree in psychology. What exactly is that going to do? What kind of job are you going to get? Oh, I live at home and then I'll get married and then mom and dad have something that I'm going to get. Have you thought about that? What mom and dad have is for them. And by the time they retire, that's all they're going to have. They're not going to have enough. You're going to make them impoverished if they have to support you and your lifestyle and your children. If you don't make the effort, people don't want to stay in school. They graduate college at 22 and 23 to go earn $20 an hour. And they think they're living. They go get a car note while they're at home. And car notes today are like $4, $5, $6, $7, $800. I'm appalled at how much people are paying for car notes. I'm like, why don't you buy a used car, a 2-year-old car? You'll pay far less. It's the same car. Who matters? Who cares if it's not brand new off the lot? You want to pay that? Do you see what I'm saying? So income inequality is defined by, especially we're seeing this in metro areas. In 1980, we had 125 metro areas. It's kind of shrinking now because more smaller cities are being absorbed into these larger areas. Well, in places like San Francisco, for instance, where property values are exponentially through the roof, you know what causes that? Income inequality. In San Francisco, there are a lot of designers. It's the ideal climate in California. It's not as, it doesn't have as much windstorm and fires as Southern California. So a lot of people gravitate there for industry, right? Doesn't matter they had earthquake 100 years ago. Nobody cares about that because buildings are built better today, right? So you people migrate to, to San Francisco, and the income disparity is what's caused this huge homelessness problem, this homeless problem, because people are way up here earning and then people are down here. Salaries are here and wages are here. Wages have become stagnant. And even if they increase the minimum wage, get this, even if they increase the minimum wage, it is significantly not going to help because there are more people earning what? Wages than salaries. The only thing that's going to help is if there are more people earning high income jobs. Then what will happen is that it will level the playing field. So the demand that will impact supply is going to factor in. So let's say at the University of Michigan, for instance, I'm just using that hypothetical. Let's say the entire graduating class has over 500 engineers. Let's say 3,000 people are graduating. And if of that 3,000, 1,500 of them are engineers, that's going to significantly impact the Detroit metropolitan area. That means there will be a lot of engineers graduating, and that's just one school. So how many jobs will be available? How many engineers do you think they will need? That's what I'm talking about. But as long as there are only 2 or 20 engineers graduating, and the demand is really 500, there you have the problem. Do you see what I'm saying? We need to change because public policy, in other words, what I'm saying is you can't wait for politicians to change. The ways that they're suggesting, the remedies they're suggesting that is going to mitigate and ameliorate these harsh income inequality realities, politicians are not going to do it because, again, politicians are influenced by the people who write them checks. That's just the reality. The people who write them checks determine what antitrust legislation. So one of the things they suggested was reinvigorating antitrust legislation. That is going to do what? It's going to affect competition. When they removed antitrust, that means companies can do whatever they need to do get achieve whatever they want to do. Whereas before, antitrust legislation legislated how companies operated and compete with one another. So they're suggesting that we reinvigorate it. They're also suggesting, of course, what the rest of us are crying out for: increase the tax, increase taxes on those who earn more. Of course, that's going to help. Of course, that's going to reduce, it's going to help in terms of what we can offer. Let's just be clear: the poor will be with us always. There will always be people who are poor, but what we're talking about is people who are working and who still can't find a way to make it. Do you see what I'm saying? Let's look at it this way. Uh, there are a couple of things that also contributed to this. Again, these are public policies enacted by legislators whom you all vote for, right? Uh, Globalization. Anybody remember the global marketplace when this became a thing in the 1990s under Bill Clinton? They were all so excited and young and filled with ideas and saw opportunity. We can go to India and China and get products made and come back and sell it here for less and sell it here for more and reap huge profits. Globalization. Automation. You don't need so many workers to do the job when you can put robots to do the job, right? Especially in industries like manufacturing. That impacted manufacturing a lot. Globalization and automation. So if just think about this, you want to know how it affects you. If you want to think about globalization, just think about when you go on Amazon to order something. Are those products made in the USA? They're made somewhere else and are brought here. Think about that. That's globalization. That's exactly what we're talking about. Right? So now, if it is left, whereas before the thought leaders thought like this. They thought, well, if you leave it up to people, then people will promote will do things in their own, with regards to their own self-interest. But if we create a public policy that is going to legislate what people do, then it would be better. Today, that's not how people think. You have people who are entrepreneurs, nothing wrong with that. I'm one of them, so are you, right? And then you have people who are nefarious. People are like, I don't give a care about them. That's up to them. That's on them. That's their problem. How many times have you heard that? Without thinking of what does it mean? So what happens is in certain parts of the country, like in Houston, for instance, New York, these are evident. The income inequality is so markedly evident. Just go to, and what you find is that people in these areas, they tend to stick together. So all the high income earners tend to what? They tend to work in the same area, and they also tend to live in the same area. They socialize amongst the same set. So you go to places like New York and you go down Wall Street and you go down and you see how stockbrokers live and you see how hedge fund managers live, where they work, right? And then you see how they live, right? And you go to people who earn wages, the guy who makes the sandwich, the line cook, the guy who is cooking the food, the guy who is mopping the floor in the restaurant, the girl who is the server. Income inequality. And you can't, as human beings, we have to watch that, because that's why a lot of our ancestors left Europe and other parts of the world to come here, because of those things, of how people were treated unfairly. And yet we come here and now it's on the rise. Something to think about, something to talk about, something to look into. So, what are you going to do about it? This is what I say to everybody: go and get as much education, go and get a specialized kind of education. Tell your children, go stay in school. One of my daughters wanted to be a lawyer. She knew that it was going to take a heck of a long time, but she stayed the course. She'll be fine. Income inequality won't be her gambit. My other daughter wants to be a doctor. From she was 8 years old, she had already done her research to know how long it was going to take for her to be a doctor. She is sacrificing, right? She's sacrificing her present for her future. She's making sure she situates herself so that in the future she'll be able to earn what she wants to earn. Do you see what I'm saying? So then she's not going to make it so that in the future she'll be a low income earner. Oh no. And she's not just going to go into medicine, she's going to specialize because that's where the money is. So I'm saying to all of us, we need to make sure that we take care of that. Invest in your children. Tell them, go to school, stay in school, go study. I see children today and I'm like, are you picking up a book? Are you reading? I got a mailing from my insurance provider and I was appalled to read at the bottom of this, if you cannot read this, call this number. And I'm like, why you wouldn't be able to read this? Right? I'm appalled at people. What's a myth? Right? I'm appalled at people who don't want to don't want to invest in yourself. My friends, believe me when I say this, any investment you make in yourself is positioning you for a better future. Invest in yourself. Make sure, even if you have a job that never required a college degree, make sure you have a specialized skill. When I was growing up, they used to tell me to have education and to have a skill. If you have a skill, you'll always be in demand. Make sure you have a skill that you can earn income from and have your side gig. You know, I'm big on this side gig thing, right? Now we have social media. Go promote yourself. Go create a page and promote yourself, right? Do something that is going to give you a better future. Don't just sit there. Do something. One of my brothers is an accountant. Are you listening to me? He's an accountant. He went to school and got an accounting degree, right? Worked for one of those large companies. It starts with an O, right? As an accountant. They fired him because he went on vacation. He wasn't even a slacker. The boss was just iffy and they fired him. My brother is an accountant. He said, okay. He said, what do I really want to do? What am I curious about? He went back to school. He has a bachelor's in accounting. He went back to school and became a nurse, got a bachelor's in nursing. You know what that did? In either way, he's positioned for his future. He can go back to working as an accountant and count beans of the week. Do you see what I'm saying? He gave himself options. He'll never be hungry. He'll never be broke because he has options. We need to tell our children that down in the southern part of the country, there's some skill jobs that are out. Jobs like nursing, jobs like being a mechanic, being an electrician, being a plumber. Children, people today are not hungry. Yes, income inequality is on the rise. It is going to be. In the 1980s, they saw the trend. In the 1970s, we knew it was going to happen. There will always be people who earn more and some people will not earn enough. But what about you as an individual? You have some agency. Pick it up and do something. I like seeing people who, my mother was somewhat of an entrepreneur. You know, she was a nurse, right? And she just never stopped. On her day off, she would cater. She would cook and sell it. Always trying to make extra money, you know, always trying to have something else. At one point, she was what I would call the what's that thing? The marketing thing, right? You know, one of those pyramid things. She used to try them just to see if it would work so she would earn extra money, right? You have to be enterprising. The, People go to school today, they can't teach you to be an entrepreneur. That's something you're born with. You have to be hungry. People don't want to hear that term today. They're like, hungry for what? I am happy where I am. No, you're not. You don't see the future. The future is you won't be able to, when you get older. This is the thing. People today are limited and allow themselves to be confined by what they can see, right? So nobody wants to look at the future. Nobody wants to see what the future is going to be. Everybody, I am fine where I am. No, you're not. Listen to the people with experience. Because in how you feel now at 24 is not what is going to be your reality at 34 and 44. By the time you get to 34, 39, and 40, you're going to have mortgage. You're going to have car payments. You're going to have to pay more for health insurance. You're going to have to pay more for children. You're going to have children because life changes. So you're making decisions at 24 for a 19-year-old mindset, and you're not making decisions for what a 44-year-old person is going to encounter. And even my daughter will say, even with the best laid plans, you still have to factor in that something could happen, and stuff does happen, right? In my story, I never thought I'd get divorced. I thought it was pretty much going to be that way for the rest of my life. But then when my life changed, my circumstances had to change. I had to become an entrepreneur to support myself because the system was not there to support me. And somebody said it earlier that why women go to school and get degrees that don't pay them. My friend, you and I are asking the same question. Why are you going to go to school and get a 4 year degree in the humanities? Why are you going to go to school and be an art major? Why are you going to go to college and be an English major? What is that going to translate into? Can you go get a degree in finance and learn financial systems? It's going to set you apart when you apply for a job. Can you go to school and get a degree in computer science? People today don't even want to go study human resources. There's no a dearth of that. But within human resources, it's not as dynamic as I would think it should be. People don't want to be an engineer. You don't have to be a mechanical or structural engineer. You don't even have to be an automotive engineer. You can just be an engineer who knows how systems work. You can go be an electrical engineer. You just know how systems work. I had a family member like that. The girl could, I kid you not, if you gave her the most complicated thing, she could take it apart and then put it back together without an instruction manual. I found out that she was incredibly gifted at mathematics and science. I told her to go to school and become an engineer. She didn't listen to me. She went and got a 2 year college degree because she wanted to run around and have fun. And now in her 30s, married with children, and complaining about how expensive everything is. I don't have anything to say. Because when I told her that she should go be an engineer, you would meet a different group of people, first of all, right? Because you're going to marry people who are like minded. And second of all, you would position yourself to have a better life in your 30s. Nobody listened. Didn't listen to anything. That's what I'm finding today. So, public policy, if you're going to wait on politicians to change public policy that is going to impact the way you and I live in a positive way, unless you start writing them a check for $100,000, it ain't about to happen. If you can write a check to them for $50,000 or $5,000, you might get their attention. But if you're not going to be writing them a check, right, they're not going to listen to what you have to say, right? So your concerns are not going to impact them. So the only thing you can do right now is tell your young people, your sisters, your brothers, your friends, what are you doing about your future? When you ask people that, they don't like to answer that. They become defensive, right? And not only they become defensive and push you away. I've got this. I've handled this. Do you know how many parents? I'm of an age where I have young children, right? Do you know how many parents, right? How many parents are listening to their kids right now? And when you try to tell them to go to school, I've got this. I can handle this. I don't need you to, I know how to be an adult. They're 24, making stupid decisions as if they're 19-year-olds. And you're trying to point them in a direction where this is where the future is going to look like. Do this. I've got this. You know what happens a few years later? They come crying to you, and this is you sitting there looking at them like, and you want me to? And then stress you out. You know how many people I talk to like that? People don't want to listen. People who have achieved great things. I have a friend who has 2 kids. He worked his butt off, pushed everything so that he could give his children a better future. While they were in high school, he paid for everything, all the soccer lessons, all the extracurriculars, everything, so they could get into college. Then they got into college and they stopped. One of them barely got into college, just stopped. Why? Because she thinks daddy will always be there. Daddy's always going to pay for everything. And he's sitting there with his hand at his face, appalled, shocked, and you know what's worse? Disappointed. Because now he can see that their future is not going to be bright because one of them is studying theater in school. And I am like, for the love of God, what's that 4 year degree going to do? And he's like, I don't know. His son, whom he pushed and pushed to get into a college, what they consider to be a great college, his son is barely finishing study, coming out with a degree in psychology. And he doesn't have a clue what happened. You know what happened? In all the stuff they were teaching, they didn't teach ambition. Ambition is something that you're born with, but your circumstances, if you've been beset by adversarial circumstances, your circumstances will push you into greatness. I tell my children that the adversity that I encountered and as a result they had to go through too, because I was going through it. I said it is character building. It's pushing you to greatness. If I had had it laid out in the shade and made out, you wouldn't have pushed yourself. You'd be like everybody else. Yeah, I can just go to college and get a degree in psychology and come back out. Mom and dad have it anyway. I have a car to drive. They're always gonna have a car for me to drive. They're gonna rent somewhere for me to live. So I'm gonna be fine anyway. And I'm like, but what adversity did was it created a different set of circumstances where suddenly your own choices matter. So you didn't have time to loaf off or lounge around. Do you know how many people today are shaking their heads that the effort they had to go through to go into school, thinking they were making a better life for their kids, they're looking at their kids now and the kids are not motivated. The kids don't care. As far as they're concerned, I don't see why I need to do this. And I got this. I'm handling this. I got this. I'm not going to need that actually. That's what they're telling you. We, the rest of us, are sitting back appalled because we're like, you don't have a clue what's coming down the pike. Do you see what I'm saying, my friends? So I am afraid that income inequality is going to continue because people are still graduating. Some are graduating high school and they're not even going into highly skilled jobs. Like here in the Detroit metro area, there's a lack of plumbers. There is a lack of electricians. You can't get young people coming out of school to want to do that. I go, every now and then I used to take my truck in to get the air in the tires. And the local discount tire that I go to, I began to strike up a conversation with the people who, and I found one young man told me this last year, and I'll never forget it. He had just graduated high school, right? And while he was in high school, he said, I really felt like I wasn't going to make it in college. So he said what he did was he strove to become a mechanic. So he got his certification. You know how much he's earning? He's 19 years old, earning $60,000 a year as a mechanic. He says he's so in demand that by the time he graduated high school, he was hired before he even left high school as a mechanic. He said, while my friends are struggling with student loan and so on, he said, if I'm earning 60, he said, they're only paying me that because I'm 19. He said, by the time I'm 30, I would probably own my own mechanic shop. I was like, kudos to you. That's a success story. He said, and you have to look at it. We don't have enough mechanics. Today, mechanics are not even called mechanics. You know that, right? They're called technicians. Technicians, because what happens with our cars today, it's such a highly specialized skill. Do you know how much a mechanic charges? $95 an hour. That's the lower end of it. It's mostly $120 an hour. Digest that, right? Because of how the cars are made today. Is anybody doing that? Think about an electrician. Wiring is going to stay it's going to stay the same. The technology around it just improves. You can't find one. A couple months ago, I had a guy from the electric company had to send a serviceman out to look at my air conditioning. And I kid you not, I'm always curious. I'm always talking to people, so I struck up a conversation again. He's the serviceman. He's been with them for over 15 years. I think he said from he graduated high school or something like that. Do you know how much he earns? He's now 30. No, he was 40 or 41, right? You know how much he earns? He earns 120,000. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be a plumber. Man, you have a problem and you call a plumber, you're sweating bullets. It's easily 350, right? Nobody wants to do that. They don't have the patience, but they all want to be. And when you look at it, the way the deck is stacked, it's going to trend and keep moving in that direction again and again because public policy is driving that. Politicians are not going to change public policy to benefit the people at the bottom. They're not because they don't have any interest. You've heard of special interest. They're not going to change it for the folks at the bottom. They're going to change it for the people who paid them to be in office, the people who write checks on a campaign trail. That's what is happening. So if you want to, the only thing you can do is have free agency of yourself. All of these things are societal and social factors that impact the way we live, the way we work, the way we think. For instance, people graduate. I know somebody years ago, she had graduated with a degree in psychology and she had to go to work. It was $10, $12 an hour. She had a family. And she's like, but I have a college degree. And I said, but it's in psychology. What is your skill set? And she's like, I said, there you go. What is your skill set? So you're going to go in the job. The degree is going to get you in the door. But what's your skill set? They're going to pay you based on your skill set. Do you see what I'm saying? The people who work on the line at Ford, GM, and Chrysler are highly specialized, very highly skilled. It's one of the things that can attract investors to the Detroit area. You have a highly skilled workforce. So you have access to a data bank of people who are highly skilled, right? And based on their skill set, they will always eat bread. I ask people, what's your skill set? I ask young people, are you going to college? Young people come around my daughter. I'm like, are you on your way to college? My daughter only speaks to people who are going to college. If you're not going to college, we need to have a conversation about that. And people are, and I'm like, yep, if you're not going to college, you can't hang around my child. What are you going to study in college? Have you ever asked young people that? Ask any teenager that. You know, your nephews, nieces, young people around you. Ask them, what are you going to study? Have this conversation with them about being an engineer, being a doctor, staying in school, not just coming out with a degree in humanities, a degree in English, a degree in history. Somebody walked up to me the other day and told me she wanted to be an art historian. I said, were you going to work in a museum and earn $28,000 a year? But that's really what I want to do. I said, how are you going to pay a mortgage? She looked at her mother and her father, who looked at me, and I kept it moving. Because here's the thing. You know where this is going, right? The higher the income is going to be, what? You won't be able to find a house to buy. You won't be able to have the income because the high income earners, they're going to what? Create more products for them. You don't believe me? Go watch that spoof on Instagram with that white comedian. Lord, what's his name? That comedian guy who has the spoof about wearing earpods and how AirPods are connected to and attached to a certain kind of lifestyle. You drive a Tesla and you have enough time to have an existential crisis where you sit on the beach and say, who am I and where is God? Because you have that kind of time, right? Because you can afford to do that. And you live with that. Your butler will start the car for you in the morning, right? I just thought I'd say that to make you laugh. But seriously, even with entertainers who, these new entertainers, you notice when they first come out, they're showing what they're teaching the people whom they left behind that I can buy this and I have this and I have that. But after a while, it peters out because they don't want to be targeted. right? But think about it. They too are high income earners, entertainers and performers. So they're dependent on their fan base to help them stay in that lane. Their fan base can compete with them in terms of income. So income inequality is always going to be there. Special interest groups are always going to influence politicians to create public policy and craft legislation that supports their interests. We don't have much. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't have as much control as you think. But what we can do is tell young people we know and have access to, stay in the game. Make sure that you stay in school. The longer you spend in school getting a worthwhile degree, not a degree in art history, so you can tell me all about medieval art, but for the love of God, you're not going to earn enough to be able to afford a decent mortgage. You're going to need your parents to help you with the down payment. You're going to need your parents when life hits and you're facing divorce. You're going to need your parents to carry you and burden you through. So, what's that degree in art history going to do? What's that degree in English language going to do? What's that degree in religious studies going to do? You can come and tell me all about world religions. You do realize that you can study it as a minor. My oldest daughter, when she was in school, when she was in college, the stories she's told, right? She used to tell me all about this stuff. She minored in anthropology. She didn't major in anthropology. She said, I want to be a lawyer. What is majoring in anthropology going to do for me? She studied sociology, the study of people, because she needed to understand people. And she snapped right back up and picked up a 3-year degree in law. I think that girl is going to eat for the rest of her life. Hopefully, she'll remember mommy, but hey, that's a whole other story for another day. Right? But she minored in anthropology. She also studied other stuff that she was curious about. She said, I just wanted to know. So she was just curious. So she went and studied it. But it was what? It was not the major. How many people today are an economics major so they can become an economist? How many people today are studying actuarial science so they can become an insurance actuary? You know how much those people earn? They earn 100,000 starting right off to become an actuary. How many people? Some of these kids are so bright they can do mathematics, but they won't use it for anything. They prefer to sit down and take opioids when the world doesn't go their way and throw a temper tantrum and then start taking opioids because they want to get attention because they were too lazy. They're not driven. You know, one of the things I'm going to kid you, Donald Trump as a politician suck. But as a father, he's a model. He has 5 children with 3 different mothers. The first 4, the oldest ones, you cannot call those people losers. They were born with a gold spoon, a diamond plated spoon, sat on gold toilets, whatever. But you cannot say they're losers. For people with their money and their access, they didn't snuff it out, drink it out, joke it out. There are no scandals involving his children. He made them walk the chalk line. They work in his company. They don't have to work for anybody. They're a Trump. So they don't have to work for anybody. He created something and he held his kids accountable to it and showed them the way. You can't, he sucks as a politician, but as a father, you can't call him out on that because the children tell the story. They're not rude. They don't go around puffing at the society and throwing stuff in your face. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying, y'all? Held them accountable. Yeah, they went to college. He had a job for them, so they could do whatever, but they're working. They're not laid up on a yacht somewhere and just, hey man, just look at me. I'm just living the life of Riley out here. No. They didn't go on an existential crisis and go climb the Himalayas. They're climbing towers in Wall Street and San Francisco and London and all over the world. That's what they're doing. When you listen to young people today, They don't have drive and hunger. It's either you're born with it or you have to create it early. You got to have drive. It keeps you up at night. It keeps you focused. It keeps you hungry so much so that you're always looking for opportunity. Every door around you, is there a door open? Show me. Let me go kick it down. I got to get in this door. You see everything. When you're hungry, you see everything as an opportunity. You don't sit back and take a puff and say, oh man, all my problems just dissolve in this puff, or take a sniff. Oh man, all my problems just dissolve in this, or take a drink. I just want to numb it out, man. No, you got to be conscious, people. This stuff is not going to go away. The data is irrefutable. It's not going to go away. People are writing about it and talking about it, and politicians are like, who is writing the check? The person who is writing them the check is the person whom they're going to listen to. And so people can't, why did you even go to school if you can't write a politician a check for $500 that favors a cause you like? But you're going to open a yoga studio on your parents' credit, right? Have some entrepreneur. We have to start. And for you, most of you who listen to me, you're entrepreneurs yourself, right? So you don't have this issue, but you are the influencers. You're the ones whom people are going to listen to. People are going to listen to you. When you start talking about this, they're going to listen. You might be tonight when your friends gather this weekend and you start talking about this, huh? And you say, what can we start? You know how you're going to know the difference? When you start saying, man, there's so many opportunities in the economy today. What can we start? I can make some money. And somebody said, oh, I got an idea. Listen, how can we work that idea? Go online yourself, do the investigation, see what it looks like, and sit down and say, let's draw up a contract. Let's see how we can work this stuff, but let's put this in a contract. Right? I kid you not. Take advantage of the opportunities because they won't always be there. I woke up this morning. You know what was my first thought? I kid you not. This hasn't happened to me in a while. I woke up this morning and my first thought was this: what opportunities have I missed? What is it that I should have done that I haven't done that would have probably catapulted me? Did I stare at my circumstances and let those circumstances dictate to me? That was my. Do you know something? It scared me. I was like, I can't believe I did that to myself. I couldn't answer that question truthfully because I ran into self analysis and I was like, oh my God. And I'm asking myself, did I miss the boat? No, you got to understand, for me to get to where I am today, it was not easy. I didn't have a gold spoon in my mouth. I didn't have a father with an unlimited checking account, right? You're all looking at me. I'm serious. I didn't have a mother with that. I didn't come from a trust fund. I literally scraped and scraped together all at the same time while I was raising children. Without help, without financial support. I kid you not. Right? And I had to sit there and make a decision. We're going to eat or we're going to pay this bill. We can eat some ramen noodles, but and then pay the bill and then hope for a better tomorrow. I kid you not. I took calculated risks. Still taking calculated risks because I'm positioning myself for a better future. Using my skill sets, using everything that comes to me to position myself to make it better. And I am my worst critic. I woke up this morning and asked myself, what opportunities have I missed? I don't want to miss anymore. What opportunities have I missed? Did I take advantage of everything that came my way or did I delay it? Did I experience delayed gratification to get further ahead? Or did I do the instant gratification thing? I made up in my mind, I'm going to win. I have already won. What are you going to do? Are you with me? Are we in this together? Are we going to do this together? Are you with me? Can I count on you to be with me? That situation I just described, income inequality, it's going to be there, my friends. But are you with me that we're going to strive together to make a better tomorrow for us and our future and our children and the future generations after us? Are you with me? Are we going to create empires like Donald Trump did? Before he became a politician, we all admired him. Let's just be clear. I'm talking about that Donald Trump, not the one who is a politician today, right? Are we going to become empire builders? Are we going to do this? Are we going to become the kind of people? Are you going to help me? Because I pour into you every day. I talk to you. I drive you. Now it's your turn. Pour into me. This message has been a blessing to you. Go to Anchor FM, look up Down to Earth with Harriet Kimmick. This is a listener supported program. Make sure that you support my podcast, 99 cents a month. I pour into you every day. Pour back into me. Go to the exodusfoundation.com. Come on, take out your black card. Take out your white Apple card. Go into Exodus Foundation. You can even find me on iCloud. Right? Can't hide. You can find me anywhere on the internet. Go to the exodusfoundation.com. Make a donation, buy a book, support me because you want to continue to hear me come and show you a different perspective. I know you like looking at my face, but I know you also like to know that I'm still eating, the lights are on, and so on. We got to help each other because I'm bringing to you knowledge and information that you wouldn't ordinarily have. It costs me something to do all this research. I don't just get up and have a puff and just have a sniff and these things happen. I have to pay someone to do all of this research. I have to think about this. I have to plan and strategize it so that you are empowered. I come to empower you, right? So go to my page on Anchor FM. It's a listener supported program. Click on support this podcast. Subscribe for 99 cents a month, right? Subscribe on Apple Podcasts and especially on Spotify. Download, tell your friends about it. We got to do this together. We got to do this, right? Thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow. More on Down to Earth. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you. You empower me. Thank you. I'm honored and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed.